Welcome back to the channel. I have an awesome guest with me today. Probably my favorite guest I could have up here next to my two kids. And she is the reason that I have those two beautiful kids and that I am the man that I am today. So today I'm going to be doing a cool podcast with my one and only special wife, Ashley Nicole Faulkner.
I'm the special wife.
You're my special wife. You're my special guest, my special wife. Figured we could do this for like a Valentine's Day special, which I thought was pretty neat. We can talk about how we met, how much we love each other, make everybody sick. Yeah, make them sick. But yeah, so I want to get right into this. We'll probably do some stuff where we'll talk about how we met. We can jump into that. We can talk about all of our ups and downs and our careers, our career choices, our kids, our life together, what it's like to work husband and wife together. And I don't know, we can kind of go from there. So give me a quick introduction on yourself, babe.
Hi, I'm the special wife. My name is Ashley. Garrett and I have been together for a really long time.
How long?
And tomorrow will be 20 years.
20 dating years. I should say that I'm only 22, so you met me at 2?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Right.
That's weird.
Yeah. It definitely doesn't feel like I'm old enough to be with someone for 20 years.
So I'm 32, you're 33.
Yeah.
We started dating when I was 12 and you were 13. Is that correct? Does that sound right? I was in 6th grade, you were in 7th grade. Got me an upperclassman. Whoop, whoop. Most people probably already know a lot about our story because they've been in our lives since we were in 6th and 7th grade.
Yeah.
But 20 years tomorrow, so that's awesome.
It's a long time.
Yeah, that we've been dating. We had our ups and downs. We can get to that later, but
It doesn't.
yeah. So what's give us some background on you? Where are you from? What's all of the nitty gritty information?
What? Well, I'm from here. I'm from Harris County. I grew up there. I'm an only child, and I'm not super interesting, unfortunately.
You're not an interesting person.
I'm not.
So you were born in Florida.
Well, I was born in Florida, but I think we moved when I was like 3 days old or something, or 3 weeks old.
Yeah.
So I mean, technically I was born in Florida, but I'm not from Florida.
Was some background? Your mom was very young when she had you.
Yeah, my mom was 16 when she had me.
She had just turned 16.
She had just turned 16 when she had me. And her and I kind of grew up together. She's one of my best friends.
Basically raised by a single mom most of your life.
Yeah.
And most people hate their mother-in-law. I love my mother-in-law. She's awesome. We've always had a great relationship.
Yeah.
And
she half raised you too.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been together since, we were 12 and 13 years old. So
after all that time, do you still love me?
I do.
Even more?
Even
Does it grow?
more. Even more.
So we, I guess we can get started. Your friend knew me.
Yeah, we had friends that were friends, and I would always hear about this guy named Garrett. And this is when we were.
What'd you hear about this guy named Garrett?
This is when we were in middle school, guys. But I was always hear about this guy named Garrett, and I knew all of Garrett's friends. I just didn't know who he was, and I was like, I think I know maybe what he looks like. And so I guess I got really ballsy one day and introduced myself to him.
How'd you do that? Why don't you go into detail how that happened?
I saw him coming down the hallway, and I was like, hey, what's your name? He said, Garrett. Yeah, Garrett. And I was like, well, I'm Ashley. And
What you're leaving out some details there, babe.
What did I say?
You said, would you like to be my new friend?
Yeah.
Hi, Garrett. Would you like to be my new friend? And I was like, sure. And you're like, okay, you're my new best friend. And I was like, okay. Bear in mind, I'm like this tiny little prepubescent 6th grade boy, and this gorgeous girl that's a year older than me that I have no shot at whatsoever just comes up to me and starts talking to me. I imagine my face was probably just like beet red, scared to death. I was freshly in 6th grade. So that's my first time in a middle school experience. I was coming from elementary school where you have one teacher and everything's kind of a set way, and then you intermingle everybody into middle school and you start having, periods and everything else that I wasn't used to. I think we had like 9 periods or whatever. And so, yeah, it was like a whole new thing. And then some random gorgeous girl, like I had seen, I was like, that's the prettiest girl in this school. Like there's no doubt that's the prettiest girl. And then she came up to me, like I'm trying to walk on the opposite side of the hallway to get away from you. Like don't even make eye contact. And there you are beelining it at me. That was before you were shy. Now these days you're more shy, I guess.
Yeah.
So we started talking. I said, yeah. And then we had mutual friends.
Yeah.
My best friend, Sean, and his sister were friends with your best friend, Jamie. And so we ended up kind of,
Katie.
Yeah, kind of hanging out with each other kind of in that group. Went and watched the movie Signs, met you there, even though you had another boyfriend at that time.
Yeah.
And I don't know, we just kind of kicked it off and hit it off really well. So fast forward, we started dating.
Passing notes.
Yeah, passing notes, all the middle school stuff.
Calling
this
on
is
the house
pre-text
phone.
messaging.
You had to call on the house phone and ask for Garrett.
Yeah, this was pre-text messaging, so it was a lot of old school stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I had a portable phone and that thing was always dying, and I'm sure my parents were getting mad that I was constantly tying up the phone line.
Oh, yeah.
For 4 hours at a time, where you're just sitting there like, oh, what are you doing?
Breathing. Just
okay,
listening
what are you doing
to each
now?
other breathe.
Oh, you're eating Cheetos? Oh,
so
okay.
awkward. Kids are so awkward.
We
We were so awkward.
Hey, we made it though. So then fast forward, we had high school. We were high school sweethearts.
Yeah.
We had some downs in there. We took a couple different breaks.
We had a few breakups.
Yeah.
It's good for us. Healthy.
Yeah, probably, what do we have, 2 or 3 breakups somewhere in there?
Probably.
And then when I graduated high school, we were actually broken up at that point.
Mm-hmm.
You had broken up with me like during my graduation, but then you saw me at graduation, and then you were like, man, I can't resist that guy. Like, look at him.
Right.
You were texting me and calling me, wanting me to come over. I just want to talk. Oh, okay. I know where this is going.
Right.
You trying to get back with me. I get it. So
I get it.
So we can back up before that. We had a few breaks. It wasn't a full on 20 years without any issues. We had some issues. But I can say in our marriage,
breaks. We dated other people.
Yeah.
Which is healthy for
our
overall relationship.
I think we came back stronger than ever at that point.
For sure.
Once we finally got back together after that last breakup, and we've never had one or ever even close to one since.
Yeah.
Never a divorce talk and never any of that. So we have a super healthy and strong relationship. But we can back up before that. So let's talk about some careers. Let's talk about some of your first jobs. What's some stuff there?
My very first job was New Life Tanning Center. And I wasn't even like a sales girl. I just cleaned the beds. And then I slowly moved up, and I think I was one of the sales girls for a little while.
That was at 16?
Yes.
Didn't you take a job at Kmart before that and you didn't show up?
Well, technically, I took the job. I got the vest and the little name tag, but I never showed up.
Yeah.
Because I got the call from...
Shout out to Kmart.
Thanks, Kmart. But then I got the job from New Life, and I was a 16-year-old. And, tanning back then wasn't as, taboo as it is now, I guess.
Yeah.
So it was a big deal. And
crazy how that was a fad and then it just died out. I guess maybe all the cancer talks.
I was about to say.
Healthiness.
Right. So that was a big deal. That was a awesome first job for a 16-year-old. It was easy. They worked with my hours, and I got a tan for free. So.
Yeah. And again, at 16, tanning was all the rage. So you got to tan for free.
Yeah,
You're
the
tannest thing constantly. I was seeing you. You're just the color of this brown desk right here.
Yeah, I tan really well.
All the time. And then you remember that picture from our winter formal?
Yes.
It was winter, okay? I don't tan as easy. Ashley works at a freaking tanning bed place, and it's an embarrassing photo. I don't know if we can find it and throw it up, but we can try.
I'll find it because that is hilarious.
Yeah, that's a good photo.
Garrett's very pale with his blonde hair, blue eyes, and
just teeth. I was just teeth and hair.
Yeah. I was really, really tan. Probably the tannest I've ever been.
Yeah. So your first job was there. So you're 16, I'm 15, but yet I remember you told me that it's not a date unless I drive you somewhere.
Yeah.
So my little butt at 15 years old is trying to work on an old Ford Bronco on our family's property to get it going because there's a Mexican restaurant in front of our house to try to get you to come over to my house. Actually, I might have been 14 at this time because I don't even think you could drive.
I don't think I could drive.
Yeah, so I don't even think you could drive. But I'm working on a Bronco to impress this girl that I've already known for years. Shouldn't need to impress, but I was still trying. I still try to this day.
So you need to impress me.
But working on this old Ford Bronco and getting it running, I get you over to the house and we take our first date at the Mexican restaurant.
Yeah, you drove through the field because you couldn't drive on the
I
real
can't
road.
drive. Yeah. So that was our first date. I'm sure we have a picture from that too. Still somewhere. So we've had a lot of fun together. We've had a lot of we could talk about all our little fun stories all day long.
All day. 20 years of them.
Try to hit on the highlights at least. But
there's a lot.
But I do want to get into some of our careers and our kids and all that kind of good stuff. So you had your first job, then you had a couple jobs in high school that were
daycare. I worked at quite a few daycares.
A couple summer camp things at Callaway.
Just a bunch of kids stuff.
Miscellaneous teenager jobs.
Yeah.
But at New Life, you met a friend, Ashley, who was going through the X-ray program, right? And that kind of kicked off, I guess, your college, like what you wanted to do in college.
Choices,
correct?
yeah. So your mom did X-ray for how many years?
1,000.
A long time.
Yeah.
So
I think she's 1,050, so around 1,000.
So she retired out of X-ray, but just hearing her talk about it and hearing Ashley talk about it, like in high school, I took all the healthcare classes and stuff. So I knew that I wanted to do something in healthcare, and I didn't necessarily want to be a nurse because I didn't want all the patient care that came along with that. So talking to Ashley and your mom, I decided that X-ray sounded good to me. It was a short 2-year after you got into the program, and you made decent money. And so that's what I did for about 6 years after I graduated.
Yeah, and bear in mind, I mean, you didn't have anybody in your family. Your mom had you at 16 years old.
No, she dropped out of high school. I was the first college graduate in my family.
So yeah, it's awesome achievement. And so you wanted to go to college, but also too, like, you know, I've read different books where it talks about like a lot of the times poor kids, which we were both basically poor. I think you were probably more so than I was a little bit. But poor kids tend to have to worry about their education choices or their work and career choices faster than wealthier kids. Wealthier kids, their parents are paying for their dorm rooms, they're paying for their college, they're paying for everything. They're supported even when they come out of college and they don't have a job. But for us, you graduated in 2008. I graduated in 2009. In 2008, when you graduated, that was the height of the recession.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the worst year ever. And so, I mean, we were being told, you know, go to college and there's probably not any jobs for you out there.
Yeah.
The job market's terrible. So
I was definitely told that in X-ray.
Yeah, but even looking at healthcare, like healthcare was one of the most secure you could get into, and you were still being told that in X-ray that could be an issue. So I think that it was a very wise choice, especially given the circumstances of us, you know, and the times we graduated and all that kind of stuff. And I was just, you know, super proud of you that you went to college. And I had dreams of going to college. I did a semester at CSU. I know everybody's kind of heard that story, but I did a semester, and mainly that was because Ashley told me she was not going to marry somebody who didn't have a college degree. I remember those days. I'll probably go back and look through text messages from 2007 where she told me that or something.
Probably.
If I have that. I'm just kidding. But you remember you telling me that?
I do kind of, yeah.
Yeah. So how's it feel?
Oh, how times have changed.
Married to a dropout, Ash. How's that feel?
You know, it's all right.
Okay. So, so you went to college.
I started actually as like a TA in college. So I was my last year of college. I worked in the hospital basically as an X-ray tech. You just get paid half the pay. And then after I graduated, the hospital that I TA'd at offered me a job. So I stayed there for a little while, did part-time, kind of everywhere. And I ended my X-ray career at Jack Houston,
trying to think of some timelines because you kind of got a little ahead about ending your career, but we can back up. So you go to college, you graduate, you get a job. I am slowly starting my lawn maintenance landscaping adventures. We leave the house at a early age. I think I was out by 18. You were out by around 19 or so. And we lived together, and we knew we were going to get married. We knew we were soulmates and everything else. So like that was a done deal. Yeah. I mean, we had been dating from 12 years old. It was only the next step, you know, and even at that time, like I said, we were loving each other more and more every day. There was never a question, never anything. Like we were made for each other. And so, I'm doing my thing. You're doing your thing. You get a job as an x-ray tech. We get married in 2012, April 28th, 2012. So we just had our 10-year wedding anniversary last year. So we're on our 11th year coming up this April, which is awesome. We buy a house together. Mm-hmm. Bought our first house together in Hamilton, over by the high school. Yep. And we lived there for a few years, but we got to bring our son home to that house, which is cool. So we had our first little baby boy December 1st, 2013, Elon Wade. And Elon, hopefully he joins me on the podcast. He's an awesome kid. Yeah. But right when you got pregnant, you found out you were losing your job.
Yeah. So the company that I worked for did a huge layoff. I don't remember how far along I was.
A month and a half, maybe?
I was about to say, I want to say it was right before the 12 weeks because I hadn't even told them that I was pregnant. I was actually planning that week to tell them. Yep. I think it was like my 12 week. And so unfortunately I was part of those layoffs, and
which we lost our insurance.
We lost our insurance.
I'm a struggling small business owner at 21 years old, 22 years old. Yeah. And don't have any insurance.
So it was obviously a very emotional time. We kind of panicked.
Scared to death.
Yeah. And I actually...
Newly married, expecting our first kid.
Just bought a house.
Yeah. And then you lose your job.
And I lose my job.
Literally worst case scenario.
I had just gotten a new car too.
Yeah, brand new.
Brand new.
Yeah.
So it was definitely stressful. But I had a friend that I worked with at the doctor's office that I actually got laid off of, and she called me and she was like, Ashley, I saw you left. What's going on? And I told her, and she was actually opening another doctor's office. And she said, we're not going to have x-ray, but you can, be a medical assistant. It's not going to pay you what you were getting paid, but you could keep your insurance. And I was like, sign me up. So that's what I did. So I helped them open the doctor's office, and I was a medical assistant there for, probably about a year. I had Elin, and then I came back.
Yeah, we didn't want to have any like crazy changes once you had Elin. So I know that you had Elin there.
And I enjoyed it. I loved the people that I worked with. They were all great. The
I remember you loving that job.
Yeah. Sarah was a wonderful manager. I loved Miss Steph. I mean, they were all great. Yeah. So it was hard to leave. Obviously I wasn't getting paid great, but I loved being there. So
I think you went from
makes a big difference.
The $20 an hour down to like 13 and some change an hour.
Yeah.
It was a really
big pay cut.
Yeah.
But we got to keep insurance. Not paying $1,500 a month.
We got to keep our insurance. And, in my headspace that I'm at now, I'm like super risky where I'll do something to force myself out of my comfort zone. At that point, that was not how it was. So it was like comfort over anything, like that security over anything. And at that time, I was probably I was scared to force myself out of my comfort zone. But I started learning that like, oh, dang, if hard things start happening to me, I start working harder to get out of those situations. And so it like forces me to, just get outside my comfort zone a lot more. I take more risk and things like that. So that definitely scared us. But we ended up, you worked there for a while. Mm-hmm. We had Elin. Everything was fine. We had our insurance. But then right after we got out of the insurance, we were like, all right, let's get you back in x-ray. Yeah. And then you took an x-ray job, but we did not have insurance for a little while.
Right.
With a 1-year-old.
So x-ray jobs were hard to come by, but one luckily came available.
Yeah, because it's a racket. I have to get on my soapbox here. They will just dump people out of college programs, make you pay all this money in tuition, or they're government funded or whatever they are. They'll dump 12 to 18 kids. How many was in your graduating class that year?
I don't even remember. But yeah, I mean,
And like
let's say
3
15.
are hired a year in this area. It's insane to me that they just keep pushing them out. I think now it might be a little bit better, but at that time it was like only 2 people out of those 18 were going to get a job locally.
It's true.
And then you ended up losing your job. You were one of those 2 that got a job as a TA, tech assistant, while you were in school. So you were top 2 in your class, basically. You got a job, ended up getting another job right after that, which was great because you were so ambitious
Yeah, I
and
was super
hardworking and
lucky, yeah.
everything. And then you end up losing it, and now you can't find another one in the area,
Yeah.
from a layoff.
Right.
So, sorry, that was a soapbox.
It was a tough situation, but I started applying, and I actually knew it was like a family friend, the manager at Jack Houston Memorial, and he knew that I was looking too. So I applied, and he reached out, and I got the job. It was just PRN, so we didn't have insurance, but I worked there.
Until they offered you a full-time position eventually,
Yeah.
which was, I don't know, 8 months, a year later, somewhere in there.
Maybe, yeah.
You were given a full-time position. So insurance kicked back in. Money was doing better. We were doing better. We had a 1-year-old. I think at that time, too, we decided that we were going to sell our house
Yeah.
right after that and build a new house. And then you decided to make another career change. So tell everybody about how that happened.
Yeah, so we decided to sell our house. We put it on the market, and I guess the market was crazy at the time. I don't know, but we sold our house way faster than we thought we were going to sell it. So we were planning on buying a house. We couldn't really find one, so decided to build.
We found several, but as soon as we decided that we're on the market for 9+ months,
Oh, yeah.
And
As soon as we put an offer in, it was like, oh no.
both houses that were like option A and option B, they were like, no, we're selling now. We're
Which
on the
is
market
fine.
for a year, and then one was 9 months. We put our house on the market, and then they both sell. It
That's so true.
was ridiculous.
It sucked. It was a little disappointing. It was hard to deal with, but we decided we had land, and the
We
land
had just
was
bought land.
Yes, the land was paid off, so we were like, well, shoot, let's just build on it. So we moved in with your parents for a while, and we lived in there. They had like a mother-in-law suite. So me, you, and Elin and our dogs shacked up in the mother-in-law suite we were there for like 10 months
Yeah.
ish while we built a house. And in the middle of doing that, I changed careers, not just jobs. Like I changed a whole new career.
Yeah, so timeline, I think we sold our house. We listed our house and sold it in like December. We had to be out by the end of January, so we moved in with my parents. The end of January, first part of February. Not a lot happened. Then it was just prepping to build the house. We were dealing with architects and builders and all the headache of that, which was insane. Probably way more harder than it should be. And then July hits.
June
July.
6th, I started my new job.
So tell me about how did that happen?
So I did X-ray at Jack Houston, which is really known for surgery. Most of the X-ray that I took was in surgery, and one of the doctors I worked with, the sales rep that worked with him came up to me and said, "Hey, we're looking for someone to kind of help me out in the area. Do you know anybody?" I was like, "Yeah, me." And he was like, "Are you sure?" And I was like, "Yeah, me." So it was a long process. I think that was in February, and I don't think I got hired until June. So I put in my resume. I had to go on different interviews and stuff.
Yeah. And you were accepted as a sales assistant, essentially, to a salesperson in the medical device sales world.
Yeah.
So you're working for a doctor or several doctors that sell or that perform spine surgery, and you were providing the tools and instruments and parts that go into the spine.
Yeah.
So I'm simplifying that a lot more, but
That's what it is, though.
yeah. And so you did that for a while. Some personal things happened with the person you were working underneath, and then you were basically promoted, essentially, to take the salesperson's spot.
Yeah.
And you had your own territory, essentially, and pretty much ran with one doctor. And so tell me a little bit about that.
You got way ahead.
I got way ahead.
We were talking about building our house and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So we can go back. So we were building our house. You took that job. We built our house. We finally got in there, but In June, you accepted the new position. In
August, Elon broke his leg and was in a spica cast.
A 2.5-year-old, our son,
Yep.
broke his leg, freak accident. I bought out a lawn maintenance and landscape business to add to my stuff, all while still living with my parents and in the middle of building a house.
It was terrible.
So our life was completely flipped upside down, and we were doing a lot of things to better ourselves. You know, we were getting a new house, we were changing jobs that were going to be better for the future. I was adding more business to myself through acquisitions, and so we were doing all that, but we didn't realize the compounding stress of everything. And so
any one of those things is stressful for someone, but then all of them together is just beyond. It was
you know, other than
really
Elon's
tough
leg
time.
breaking, you know, because that was the freak accident. Other than that, I mean, I don't know if I would change anything else because it was able to just get knocked out. It was all at one time and it was over and done with. But I don't know if you remember that one time that I woke up in the middle of the night telling you I was dying.
Yeah.
And you were like, what is going on? And I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I need to run a marathon. And at this point, I didn't do any physical activity. I was like full on dad, you know, working, entrepreneur, didn't care anything about like healthy eating. It was just day in and day out, do the same thing. And I didn't start getting into physical activity until 2019. And this was what, 2016, somewhere in there? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I ended up having a full-blown panic attack that woke me up from my sleep is actually what happened. I woke up with a panic attack or anxiety attack. First and only one I've ever had in my life, and I don't recommend. It felt like I had just jumped out of an airplane without a parachute. You know, it was like I didn't know what was going on. Like your adrenaline was pumping, but I just woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning, you know, like just sit up from the bed. Very odd. So... yeah, it was a lot going on. So we built our house. We had a beautiful house. Mm-hmm. And we built our house, and everything ended up turning out great. Mm-hmm. And we ended up having our second child in that house. Yep. That's our little Ella Ray. And she was born in 2019, so she's now 3.5. She's right in that good teenager stage, right there with the meltdowns and everything else. But
every day.
She has me... She gets whatever she wants from me. Like it doesn't matter.
Both of our kids do. Let's be fair.
Yeah, I know. But I do want to back up too to your jobs before that. So you had a job working at the market.
Oh yeah.
And that's actually where you met Rebecca. Mm-hmm. That actually Joe, our cameraman behind the scenes over there.
I'm the board operator today.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my wife. My wife is Rebecca. So yeah, Ashley and Rebecca work together.
Yeah, so that's how I know Joe basically, and friends on Facebook or whatever, and he saw the post that I made when I was looking to hire for this position. So it kind of worked out good.
Yep.
Full circle there. And then you also worked for John.
I did.
Melton.
Whom I also have a close and weird relationship with.
Everybody has a weird relationship with John.
If he has a normal relationship, something's wrong. But yeah, so
I love John.
You met John and you worked in the ghetto essentially.
Yep. So I worked in the rental office.
Yes,
for 2 trailer parks, mobile home parks off of Olcosita.
Full circle, where you started and then where you...
in Far Road. It was always very entertaining.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And I mean, John's half of that.
Yeah, John's half your entertainment right there.
Yeah, John's half the entertainment. So.
Yeah. We'll have to figure out some sort of clip that we can throw John in here.
He'll enjoy that.
That way everybody can hear his voice and hear how much of a character he is somehow. I'll call him up.
I talked to John yesterday.
Did you?
Yeah.
So that kind of sets you up for a little bit about what you're doing now, and we'll get that in a second. But you ran a rental office for him essentially, but your heart was in healthcare the whole time.
Yeah, for sure.
So earlier we got a little bit ahead and we talked a little bit about your career, but you were selling spinal implants. Yeah. And you had your own territory, and you can kind of talk about that, and then kind of talk about the ending of that and how that all kind of came to
so I was hired as an assistant. Some drama went down, and the assistant basically got taken out of the territory, which was due to no fault of his own.
Yeah.
And so I kind of slid into that position. I was never meant to be in that position. And so, yeah, I did that. I don't know how long it was when he moved. Maybe like a year and a half after I started. And so then I kind of did it by myself for the next 4 years. I met a lot of really awesome people. I worked with some great people, and I worked with some really awful people.
Yeah.
So it got to the point where I just really hated it. I wanted to leave every day. I would come home and be like, "Are you sure I got to go back tomorrow?"
Yeah, I saw plenty of tears.
Yeah. Well,
It's tough.
It was just, the environment is just not, it's just not a healthy environment, period.
Yeah.
You know?
Especially for a mom of two.
Yeah, I missed out on so much, because it was just me in the territory. So I had surgery at 6:30 in the morning on a day. Like, I didn't get to take the kids to school. I didn't get to go to any of their, like, I missed baseball practice. I missed, breakfast with mom, like on Mother's Day or whatever they do, at the schools, the Christmas programs, and I missed all of that stuff. So, in the back of my mind, that's definitely a thing. Like, am I a good mom? Like, is it worth it? All the things that I'm missing out on,
And you were making good money, way better money than you'd ever made in X-ray. And so you sit there and you weigh the options of, like, lifestyle that I'm providing for my family.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Dealing with this, like, so it's like, it became apparent to me probably 2 years prior to you exiting that I needed to do something to even step up even more. And in my mindset, it's always been like build down to earth up as big as I can get it. And it's like that can only happen so fast. There's so many variables. There's so much overhead. There's so much that can just happen with that. So I'm constantly trying to be ambitious with that as much as I can. But honestly, the beauty of 2020 happened, and I remember it. We were at our older house, and I thought we were going to be deemed non-essential. We were going to have to shut down, and I was like, what does this mean for the future? One, of the future of the company, future of business, like our future. What does all this mean? Like, it was such a, you had no idea what anything really was going to be. And so I'm like, I need to start like looking into other avenues. I don't want to be an employee, but like other investment strategies or starting other businesses or whatever. And so I really took the opportunity at that point to start learning and reading and educating myself on like some sort of streams of income, to where if something happened down to earth, that we just wouldn't fall flat on our face.
Right.
Or can I retire you? Can I get you to leave that job? Because it was just being so draining on you on everything. Yeah. And so 2020, I took a lot of time to learn. In 2021, I pretty much started executing strategies. I bought our first rental property. Mm-hmm. And then right there afterwards, I bought a package of like 9. I started Faulkner Watch Vault, where I was buying and selling, watches. It's kind of like a hobby business, side business or whatnot. Decided to do a lot of different things to grow down to earth even more, because everything was fine after, COVID. Like 2020 ended up being our best year at that time, and then 2021 was even better. But I just started trying to figure out ways. So in November of 21, you came to me and were basically like, I'm done. It was like every year around Thanksgiving for some reason.
The end of the year in healthcare, especially with like surgeries, is people are trying to, like their deductibles have been met.
Yeah.
And so the end of the year for surgery is just off the charts.
And I guess it was every time during Thanksgiving is like the only time that you actually had some time off. We would have time off around April, and we would talk in April, but it wasn't like a full year of like built up stuff yet.
Yeah.
But by the time it was November rolled around, I remember every year, like November, right around Thanksgiving, you were just like mentally, physically, everything just exhausted and done. It would come to me just crying. And it happened again, but then you got a phone call basically saying that, they didn't want you back and you could go do this and do that. But we knew it was going to be something short-lived, right, potentially, and you could get back. But you were like, and I looked at you at that point. I said, no, you're not going back. You're done. Yeah. We're done here. I'll invest in more properties. I'll invest in whatever I need to do forced me into that uncomfortable situation, which don't get me wrong, it was, again, that was like feeling like I was jumping out of an
Very
airplane without a
uncomfortable, for
parachute.
sure. For me too.
But I wanted to make sure that you were secure and that we were secure and that we could maintain our current lifestyle without drastic changes.
Yeah.
And that was the goal.
It was a very scary time for me because, I did make good money and I felt like I was taking that away from my family. But it was also like the biggest weight taken off my shoulders that I just don't have to deal with it anymore.
Yeah. And I felt it too. I was carrying that mental load with you.
I remember that. I remember I think it was like 2 days after you woke up and you said, you rolled over in bed and you were like, I can tell how much happy you are already. And that makes me so much happier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I remember when we went to the cabin when we were chasing the snow last year.
Yeah.
And I actually filmed that. I think Joe's kind of seen some of that. I was starting my whole vlog journeys at that point.
How'd the editing go on that?
Yeah, I got halfway done and didn't do much more after that. But we went to Gatlinburg and we were chasing snow. And I just remember like you sitting out there watching the kids and they were on the porch playing or whatever. And you were drinking your coffee in the window. And I was like, is this good? This your happy place? Yeah. Which was 2 months, 3 months after that. Yeah. So you were able to be there and we wouldn't have been able to be there, had you still been in that position. So
yeah, we literally like, oh, it's going to snow in Tennessee. We don't have anything to do this weekend. Let's go.
Yeah.
Like, I could have never done that in 1,000 years.
Yeah.
But that's what we did. I think Elon missed a day of school and we hopped in the car and played in the snow.
He's smart enough. He can afford to miss a day. So we don't mind about that.
Oh, yeah. We don't school.
But it was awesome. So we made the transition. I was like, I don't want you, and I know you're going to feel guilty if you're just considered a stay-at-home mom. And so I was like, I don't want you to do that. I want you to have every opportunity to spend with the kids, but the kids are going to be in school. They're going to be doing other things. Like, I want to teach you other skills and then not have that guilt of, extra income or whatever that you're not producing. Cause I know you were like, I feel like I need to go get a job or do this. And I'm like, come with me. Like, I've got all these other businesses going on. So join me, like our big thing was Airbnb. Like we were like, let's just get an Airbnb and you can manage it. You can set it up, you can stage it. So I guess we can kind of talk about you starting with Faulkner Investment Group now.
Yeah. It was really scary for me just to not, my whole life, I worked at New Life, I worked at the market, I always worked for someone and I got a paycheck at the end of the month or every 2 weeks or whatever.
Yeah. And
so it was really hard for me to I don't get a paycheck now.
Yeah.
And so it was really hard, feeling like I was contributing, I guess, to the family. So I had to really think about it okay, but I wake up with the kids every morning. I'm there more for them now. That's more than any amount of money,
Yeah.
So I started coming into the office with you.
Not with Down to Earth. That was the whole goal. You were not going to be involved with Down to Earth.
No,
whatsoever.
I've never.
That business was established. It was basically running itself. I was already out the door at that point of the day-to-day operations and was leaving it to the management team.
Yeah. So you had the rentals. You had 9, I think.
10, maybe?
10.
Yeah.
That sounds
There's
right.
a package of 9, 16, 208.
Yeah.
Yes, I think we had around 10.
10 rentals. So there was someone else kind of dealing with them then. So I kind of slid in and started trying to learn all that I could about the rentals. And also I did some training on the watches.
Yep. So you established our website on the watches.
Yeah.
Most of our social media accounts and postings and all the management of the listings and everything else, as well as we were flipping a house. I had just flipped a house, which was my first flip, I believe. And then
that was before me.
Yeah, and then we were getting set up. Like I had just done that, and then we were getting set up to do another flip.
To buy another.
But we didn't know that we were going to do it as a flip. We had full intentions of doing Airbnb. That was our big goal.
Yeah. And when I came on, the goal was to get an Airbnb.
Yeah.
Because that's what I wanted.
Yeah, because I thought that would be a really fun project for you to go in there, design it, set it up, manage it, and just see. We're building wealth because we have a property, but it's not just, you're just buying a house and you're putting somebody in it. There's a little bit more fun to it.
Like the whole hospitality side of it, I was super excited
Yeah.
about.
And you had never really done anything like that either, but you liked working in a hospital setting. You liked caring for others and things like that. So it's like, hey, we can do almost passively income through real estate, but also you still get the hospitality side of it and like the people side of helping others, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so everything been, well, I'll back up. The one that we were going to purchase as an Airbnb, the first one, we decided against it and decided to flip it. Yeah. We felt like the area possibly wasn't going to support the amount of money that we had paid for that house. The market was too high for us to just let the equity sit there and potentially everything start coming back down.
And it was the cutest house.
Yeah.
Oh my
so
gosh.
you were a little depressed when we decided.
I was. It hurt my heart a little bit. I understood, but I just was so gung-ho on an Airbnb, and that house was beautiful. It was an old historic house and had the original floors in it. I mean, it was beautiful. So, but it went to a good family, and that makes my heart happy too. So.
Yeah, and then once
and
one
they
door,
made it beautiful.
Yeah,
it's so pretty.
Every time we
It's such
drive by there,
I know.
it's
I'm just like,
nicer.
oh, I love it.
Each time.
Yeah.
But then once that door closed, another one opened, which we'd been talking to our real estate agent about what we were looking for. And he's like, oh, we like put in an offer on a house, or we were looking for something. And he was like, oh man, I should have told you about this house the other day that I just listed. Like I just sold it to these people like 2 years ago. It would have been perfect. And then he called me while we were on a business trip in the Keys, and was like, hey, something just fell through. Do you want it? And we were like, holy cow, we could still get it. So I was like, we can't go see it, but can you FaceTime with Ashley in the morning or whatever? And he's like, yeah. So I was in my meetings and you FaceTimed him and you're like, yeah, it's perfect.
Chilling by the pool, FaceTime.
Yeah. So, I mean, what in a year's time frame, what a drastic difference. You were in the Keys chilling by the pool doing business deals through FaceTime. And, I do kind of want to back up a little bit because when you left that job to come on with me, it was always, we were always fighting over whatever your percentage of commission was going to be for that job. And you were working for doctors or a territory that essentially had a cap. So whatever that sales was going to be was always going to be capped, and whatever your commission is always going to be capped. And I felt like the potential that you have and everything that you've learned and just our relationship together and how much we can team up together and do great things, that there was never going to be a cap. The possibilities were endless. Yeah. So it's not, hey, this is a cap on revenue and this is your cap on commissions. It's, hey, we can go and buy 1,000 rental properties. We can go and sell 1,000 watches. We can go and do 1,000 flips. Like the possibilities are endless with what we could do. So don't worry about making that 6-figure paycheck, because I want it to be an 8-figure paycheck. Right. I want it to be whatever. I want it to be, again, the sky's the limit. You were never limited. So it was like, okay, there's going to be a few years where there's going to be a lull, and we're learning and we're acquiring and everything else. Yeah. But initially, it's going to suck. But then eventually, it's going to rise up, and there's no stopping us. Right. And so. I wanted to get that through you to you, when all that was going on, was just like, hey, there's going to be a time where, it's going to kind of suck in the beginning, but we're going to get it figured out. Yeah. And so
we're still figuring it out.
Yeah, we're in acquisition phase. Mm-hmm. So we just closed on 4 properties last week.
Yeah.
And that's why we had to take a break, because we have our new tenants coming in, signing their new leases with us. Yep. And you handle all that. And, so we're still acquiring. Mm-hmm. We're going to do more flips. We're planning on adding more Airbnbs. We're planning on doing hopefully multifamily properties and commercial real estate for too much longer.
Yeah, we're always looking.
Yeah, and
somebody wants to sell a house.
I hate, I know I've told you this a million times, but it sucks because I just felt like you were doing things for a paycheck at your old job, versus now I feel like you have such a skill set and you bring so much value to other things that it was squashed. So you created the website you never created a website in your life. You created a beautiful website for Faulkner Watch Vault, and you handle all the social media, and you're doing TikToks and you're freaking killing it. We had the one go viral. You're like, hey, let's do this one TikTok, and then it gets 100,000 likes in 24 hours. It was insane. it went completely viral, and that was your first TikTok I think we'd ever done.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And so I was like, well, dude, this girl she's got it going on. Like, this is ridiculous. And to top it off, you're freaking gorgeous. Like, you're just, it's ridiculous. So I was like, ended up befriended Marquay, who we've talked about on here before. Mm-hmm. And I was like, Marquay, she created a beautiful website for me. Like, and he was telling me he wants to sell merch. I'm like, what do you think about us basically starting a business and not business partners, but more so,
like, we'll help you.
Yeah, we'll help you.
Yeah.
And we'll split profits, but not really like he's not a partner in our business per se. We're just, we help one another out. Mm-hmm. And so he wanted to do merch. He wants to do his own thing. He's never built a website. He's never done this. He's never done that. And so we decided to start Zero2 Media and essentially create his website, his branding, his merch. He promotes it. We sell it. And all that kind of good stuff. So you're kind of in the middle of managing that now, which we would have never had that opportunity before. I never even would have offered that opportunity to anybody if I didn't have you on the team to be able to help out with that. So your skill set and everything that you've learned is just, it just keeps growing by the day. And we're able to add more businesses and more things underneath us that I would have never been able to do without you. So
Thanks, babe.
yeah. So that's why I think that I know you kind of still get frustrated sometimes that you're not getting a paycheck or it's not a job or you don't feel like you're contributing or whatever. And maybe you've gotten over that. Have you kind of gotten over that somewhat?
Yeah.
Yeah. But you just
It's like a weird mentality, to
get
away from.
We're really stuck. I've talked about this before. I think I've made short videos about it and I've talked about it in different things, but like, our society has been trained, especially us, because we came from a poor family where everybody had jobs. They were all employees. So the pinnacle of success was to go to school, become a doctor or a lawyer, or grow a business into some huge mega business, like the next Bill Gates or something like that. Like that was your three options for success. If not, you're an employee, you work for somebody. And that's what our grandparents did. That's what our parents did. And so it instilled it into us. And so we're running on like a 20 or 30 year deficit of what our parents teach us, but we're living in the now. So like, that's why you have guys like Marquay, who was 18 years old, making 6 figures a year on TikTok because he explored the different options that's available to you in 2023.
Right.
And so you have to sometimes go like, oh man, my whole life my mom's had a job, or my whole life my dad's had a job, so I have to have a job. Like I just follow in their footsteps.
Like what you do.
Yeah, and it's you don't have to anymore. You can educate yourself. You can do things freelance. You can read a ton of books, listen to a bunch of podcasts, YouTube University, all that kind of stuff, and realize that there's passive income streams out there that you don't have to have a job.
Yeah.
I recommend that book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, to everybody if you want to understand what passive income means. And that was the first book I think I recommended to you that I
read it.
Told you to read.
Even when I was at the hospital, I would come home every day just like, oh, I'm miserable. I can't do this anymore. And I remember you asked me, okay, Ashley, then what would make you happy? I was like, I don't know. And you were like, well, what do you want to do? What would make you happy? And I was like, honestly, just like spending time with my family. I want quality time. I want to travel with you guys, like me and you and the kids. I just want to go. And you're like, all right, well, let's do that. It's like, okay, well, shoot, let's do it. And you're like, all right, well, we got to get there. And I feel like every day we're like one step closer to getting there,
Yeah.
So I feel like we're actually like have a goal that we're like trying to reach and live in the happy.
Yeah.
Not that I'm much happier now.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm not happy, but
we're very, or at least I am. I think I've kind of dragged you along in that, but very non-traditional in a lot of stuff that we do. We go against societal norms. So the goal last year was like, hey, let's liquidate everything. Personally, liquidate everything, get an RV, let's get on the road, and then drive around, invest in areas that we like, that we drive to, this RV in, take the whole family with us, dogs, grandma, everybody.
Everybody.
Kids, and find these areas, buy a house in that area, clean it up, turn it into an Airbnb, move on to the next one. Do that for a few years until eventually we have around a dozen properties, one for each month of the year. and then we can go and we can live at a house throughout the United States, wherever we want. Kind of nomadic lifestyle, but we have those houses, for 1 month out of the year, or however we want to do it. Yeah. And they're also making money for us while we're doing that. And fuel went crazy last year. The cost of everything went crazy.
Yeah. Vehicles, the chip shortage and all of that. So
real estate shot up.
Yeah.
Then interest rates started going up a little bit.
The cost of RVs was just
Yeah, we were looking at an RV to put everybody in. I mean, we're going to have to end up spending $500,000 on an RV.
Yep.
And the last thing I want to do is go spend $500,000 and have something depreciate to $180,000 the moment I drive it off the lot.
Right.
That's a hard pill for me to swallow.
Yeah.
So I didn't necessarily want to do that. I said, let's just move. Let's just go to Costa Rica. Let's just do it.
This is
6
a man
months.
who's never even been to Costa Rica.
I've never even really left the country.
And he's like, yeah, let's just move to Costa Rica.
Yeah, because I'm one that's just jump in and
Yeah.
let's just do it. Go
Out of
all
your
in
comfort
on
zone,
it.
huh?
Yeah, exactly. I love doing that.
You've
But
got a map over there that is a worldly map of all the places that you've traveled, and it really only looks like you've been to the southeast.
Yeah, that's it. It's like
small
Georgia and
scratch.
Florida.
Yeah, it's got few small
went to the
scratches
Bahamas.
over there. But that can be our goal, is to get this whole thing scratched off. That was actually an anniversary present I gave to Ashley on whatever the copper anniversary was, because it was kind of a copper color or whatever.
Yeah. I remember.
Yeah, 4 years, 3 years, somewhere in there.
Maybe.
And it stayed rolled up, and then I was like, you know what, let's put it in here. I think it matches. It looks cool. But that's actually kind of our goal, is we wanted to scratch off as much of that as we could. And we haven't done a lot yet,
We
but
haven't done that.
we'll get there. We're still young. 22 and
We're starting.
33,
Wow.
22,
Did you just say my age on this thing?
33. They could deduct that from the
Oh, I guess
graduation
so,
year
yeah.
and stuff.
That's true. What a jerk.
But yeah, so we wanted to travel, but then we
Yeah.
decided kind of against it just because of the cost of everything.
And I had just left. Like I'm still getting my feet wet on everything. Like I wasn't very well established into Faulkner Investment Group yet. So it wasn't, the timing was just not right.
Well, the big kicker for me is it's hard for me to get rid of my cars. I would have missed them. And then I decided to start a whole YouTube channel and all this other stuff with Joe around that same time frame. So I was like, dang, I just hired Joe. I want to see how this goes. Let's kick this off. And I don't want to leave this just yet.
Yeah.
We've talked about options of, Joe still works for Down to Earth and he still produces all the stuff for Down to Earth. But, we could go do travel vlogging. I'm horrible at editing. That's what I was talking about the video earlier in the snow, how I stopped editing halfway. But would be to figure out a way to send Joe back the stuff and then he could do the edits for us. We've talked about that.
Lots of different things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Occasionally, I would have to meet you on your yacht. I would think, though.
Yeah. We'll just get you your own yacht.
That works. That works.
I'm like, is there room on our yacht? I don't know.
Yeah. So we're still figuring that out.
We're figuring it out. We're going to do it though.
Yeah, we're gonna get there. That's the goal.
I still send him RV links all the time.
Yeah. Pretty sure probably in the last 3 or 4 text
He
messages.
ignores them completely.
Yeah, that I've got was that. But it's been awesome. It's been great being able to spend every day with you. My office does not get used because my office is where?
Across from me at my desk.
Yes.
He
I sit
literally
at a
sits
chair
in an uncomfortable chair
right across from her.
across from me at my
So you would
desk.
think being married
He's
to
got
you.
a huge,
and-
nice, beautiful office that
Yeah.
he doesn't sit in. He sits in mine.
Yep. Because I can't get enough of you. So I don't know. I live with you. I see you every day.
I was
and-
nervous. I was nervous about us being together all the time, but
Yeah. No.
I don't hate you yet.
Yeah. Not yet. Anyway.
No, I still enjoy being around you.
Yeah. I just sit there, hang out with you,
Yeah.
which is nice to see my wife every single day.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'd much rather have it where I see you every day, but it was also fun to not see you and then you come home and you're just
Oh,
like,
yeah.
oh, we love each other, versus now it's kind of like you see each other all the time. You don't really
All day
have that
long.
little butterfly feeling when you come home or when
There's
I
no
see
missing me.
you. Yeah.
How often does Ashley leave the office and you say, she didn't even say bye to me?
That's an everyday thing.
Probably.
She actually acknowledged that the other day, that she leaves and doesn't say bye to anybody. And I was like, you're a jerk. You need to tell people bye.
What, you want me to walk around? This building is big.
Just
You just walk around and
Just
be like, bye,
walk and be
bye.
like,
nobody cares that
everybody
I'm
have a
leaving.
good day. Bye.
Nobody
Or
cares.
text me, hey, I'm out. You just leave and I walk down there and your office lights are off. And it's like, that's why I hang out with you, because I need to tell you bye.
That's
if not, I'm up here hanging out with Joe.
You're just anticipating me leaving without telling you that.
I'm like, dang, man. Okay. She didn't tell me she loved me or nothing. So, yeah, so it's been fun hanging out with you. It's been awesome. I've really loved watching you blossom into the person that you are. And, you know, I used to get, I don't know, not aggravated, but I would get, because again, I am so non-traditional in things, I would get upset that it was just like, dang, man, she's just going to be at the hospital the rest of her life, like just working this job until she's 60 or 65 and retires. Like, I'm out here like trying to build businesses and growing my business and everything else. And I'm like, I know she has the full potential in her to be able to do all this kind of stuff. And I guess she doesn't really have an interest in it. I don't know. And so it's been awesome watching you actually like transition into, you know, I hear your podcast when you're getting ready, or I know you listen to podcasts when you're at the gym now, which is something you never did before, unless it was just like purely entertainment. But now you're like educating yourself. You're like doing life coach stuff. You're learning, you know, you're just becoming more aware of certain things. You're teaching yourself about business and being a boss babe and whatever your other podcasts are. You're listening to books that I recommend. You're listening to podcasts that I recommend, and you're turning into this little awesome entrepreneur that I never thought was possible all the way up in, you know, even a few years ago. Like, I thought you were going to be in the hospital your whole life.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, I guess it's just been really neat to watch you turn into that. And I am excited because I want you to do some more. Everybody seems to love you, especially that thing that Joe did where you made fun of me, the Halloween special.
Anybody that knows you knows that was spot on.
You should have heard the things I was trying to get her to say that she wouldn't say.
So everybody ended up loving that real TikTok, whatever it was. And so people told me they want to see more of you. And so I would love to see you in the future start to do some sort of YouTube channel where, you know, you did set up an Airbnb and it is going great. You got Superhost. You know, we ended up doing all those things, and everything that you put your mind to, you do it, and you do it 1,000%. And you manifest everything that you want to happen. And I'm glad. This is
just a podcast about how awesome I am.
Yeah.
Your special wife.
Yeah, my special wife. So, you know, I mean, I'm so glad that you're my wife and you're also the mom to my two kids, that they have you as a role model, which is awesome. But every time that you do something, you kill it. And so I want to see maybe some more content being put out by you to like maybe help others of getting into their first Airbnb and what it looks like to set up. And, you know, you can set up like Amazon channels to be like, this is all the stuff that I bought and here's how I stage it. And, you know, here's what we paid for our first Airbnb. Here's what we're bringing in, you know, daily. This is how I market it. This is what I do. And I think it could be really educational and help a lot of people out, and it can get some exposure for you. Mm-hmm. You know, just like with that exposure, you know, the reason why I basically have my YouTube channel and do our watch reviews on there is people know me as the watch guy. And I've been approached just like this watch. I purchased this watch locally because somebody was like, hey, Garrett's the watch guy. You need to call him. The guy reached out to me on Facebook and was like, hey, heard you're the watch guy. You want to buy this watch? And I was like, heck yeah. You know, so that way things start happening to you that you're known as the Airbnb person. Hey, is this a good Airbnb? Well, yeah, it's a great one. Oh, dang it, I don't want to buy it. Well, I'll buy it from you. Like, you know, whatever. You get opportunities that come your way that normally wouldn't if you just put yourself out there. And so that's a good thing. There's a lot of great angles that you can go at it, but I would love to see you put more content out. And I'd love to have you on this podcast more often, even though this is a Valentine's Day special. Happy Valentine's Day, by the way.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah, you could, I don't know, do more educational things, and we can kind of see what the life of Ashley looks like and help out other people and have other opportunities come your way and things like that. What do you think about that?
Yeah.
You think that's a good?
I mean, I think that's a good idea, yeah.
Are you scared of YouTube?
A little bit, yeah.
Intimidated?
It's a little intimidating.
I think it'll be cool. You know, I watch people like Grant Cardone, and I watch other people that have like this power couple relationship. And I think this could be a cool start to that, of like showing how our dynamic. I mean, I wouldn't be the man that I am today without you at all. You would never hear of me. I wouldn't exist. I do everything for you and then our kids to try to impress you and try to keep you so you don't lose me. I definitely outpunted my coverage with you, and so I have to make up for that in other ways. And so you're my rock, and you've helped me get to where I am today because of just who you are. And so I have you and only you, and a lot with my dad, but you as well, probably more so than anybody, to thank for who I am today. And yeah, I don't know.
The same goes to you too.
Getting too
we would definitely
yuppie over here.
It's us with each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and get a room, guys.
But no, I mean, I think it would be cool to watch you grow, watch your content, and then, I don't know, us interact more on here. I think it would be really cool. You know, we'll go into more detail. This is more of an introductory thing of who we are, how our relationship is, and how you became who you are now and the position that you're in and what you're doing. But, you know, it could be, we can hop on here and do some deep dives. You know, it'd be cool to talk about how, you know, that first flip came to be for me. And then the second flip came to be, which was putting myself out there as the guy who buys real estate. Those two deals happened. One of them happened off market before it ever even got listed, just because I put myself out there. And
our last four that we
that's what I was going to say. The last four was the same way that you put yourself out there and did that. And so if we talk about those four, how did we acquire them? Or we talk about the Airbnb, how do we acquire it? How do we set it up? You know, and go over some things. I think it'd be really cool to have you on ever so often, especially when I get like content fatigue, where we're just like making all this other crazy stuff, and it's just fun to you know, like hone in on one thing, have you up here and just kind of be like, all right, we just bought these 4 houses. How did that happen? You know, tell me about that. And I don't know, I think it'd be pretty cool. So I don't know, do you have anything else you want to say?
I don't think so.
This has been the introduction to my special wife, Ashley. But yeah, I mean, thank you for joining me. Happy Valentine's Day.
Thanks for having me.
Happy early anniversary to our 20-year dating anniversary.
Insane.
Yeah. I think it'd be fun to get the kids on here at some point too.
Oh yeah, the kids would love this.
Yeah. So I love you.
Love you.
And I'm excited to see our future grow. And thank you for being on here with me.
Me too. Thank you.